Please go ahead.
All right. Good morning, distinguished guests, American Species, ladies and gentlemen, and to the individuals tuning in on today's conversation with an alum. It is my pleasure to welcome you to another yet exciting edition of Conversation with an Alum, which is one of the signature programs of American Species Nigeria, where we engage with alumni of US exchange programs whose journey continues to inspire leadership, innovation, and impact. On behalf of the US Mission in Nigeria and the American Species Network, I warmly welcome each and every one of you to this exciting conversation. My name is Karama Ajala, and I'm the director of the American Corner from the city of Ibadan. So I'll be your moderator for today. Today's theme, from exchange to impact, turning global exposure into purpose, leadership, and opportunity, invites us to explore an important question. How do we transform exposure into action, opportunity into purpose, and experiences into meaningful impact? We are delighted to have with us an accomplished creative entrepreneur, storyteller, and leader whose work continues to shape the future of African animation and inspire young people across the continent. So to help us know our guest speaker better, may I kindly invite Mr. Stanley, the director of Port Harcourt Window on America, to take us through the profile of our distinguished speaker, Mrs. Damilola Solesi. Mr. Stanley, over to you, sir. Mr. Stanley, can you hear me?
Oh, okay, sorry. My audio was off here now. Good morning once more. My name is Stanislaus Ezonye, the Deputy Director of American Corner, Port Harcourt. I'll be reading the short biography of our guest speaker, Damilola Solesi. Damilola Solesi is an award-winning animation director, producer, writer, and the founder, CEO of Smith's Animation Studios. Since founding the company in 2010, she has spent over 15 years building one of Africa's leading animation studios and championing authentic African storytelling. Her acclaimed works include Hadu, Keiko Africa, and Ghost, with Hadu winning 8 Best Animation Awards across international film festivals. Her films have screened at major global festivals, including IFFR, International Film Festival, Rotterdam, FESPACO, Nollywood Week, Paris, the New York International Children's Film Festival, Animate, Brazil, and Cinanima, Portugal. Damilola is also the creator of Keiko Africa, an educational children's platform and YouTube series that teaches African history and culture in fun and engaging ways through animation and storytelling. Beyond production, Damilola leads creative learning initiatives, including Suntopia, Smash, that's Smith's Animation Showcase, and the Smith's Animation Summer Camp, which has empowered children through animation and creativity for over a decade. A recognized global thought leader in animation and the creative industries, Damilola has spoken at international platforms, including the Sharjah Animation Conference, UAE, Gites Global Entertainment Week Africa, Wimbiz, and Africa Creative Markets. She also served as a juror for the International Emmy Awards 2020 to 2022 and was named one of MIP TV's producers to watch in both 2020 and 2022. Through her work, Damilola is committed to building global relevant African stories, nurturing creative talent, and shaping the future of animation on the continent. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Stanley. Thank you so very much for reading that. Mrs. Damilola Solesi, we are delighted to have you with us today. Your remarkable journey from building one of the Africa's leading animation studios to championing African stories, nurturing young talents, and creating globally recognized content beautifully reflects today's theme. So we look forward to learning from you, from your experiences, from your pool of experiences and your wealth of knowledge. Mrs. Damilola Solesi, the floor is yours.
Hello, thank you so much. Thank you for that, for the bio. It's always weird to hear your bio read back to you. But I just wanted to ask before I share my screen how many minutes I have so that I can track myself.
I believe at this moment you have 52 minutes, I believe.
Okay.
50 thereabouts, yes, please. So we will have space for question and answer, a leeway for them to answer, to ask you
Can
questions.
you see my screen right now?
Yeah, we can, please.
Okay. Can you
but
see?
you need to blow it up a bit, please. Good.
Okay. So thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to speak, to be called to speak by the US Consulate. They have been truly been a part of my journey from the very beginning, actually. I joined my first exchange program in 2015. So that's 10 years plus, and it's been an amazing journey so far. So I want to share today, as have been mentioned earlier by the moderator, the topic would be on from exchange to impact, turning global exposure into purpose, leadership, and opportunity. I think the times we're in now, as young people, we have quite a number of opportunities, whether it's exchange programs like this or other opportunities that we have that we're learning, other access to knowledge and technology that we do have currently in this time and age. And I think it's important for us to be able to see how we can turn all these opportunities into impact. Again, knowledge isn't useful except it's impacting the next person. So how do we make that happen? I currently run Smith's Animation Studio, as I've been introduced. It started as a dream, literally, a few years back. We have a team of 20 strong of artists, animators, engineers, sound engineers who are just passionate about telling African story. We started in 2010, so this year makes it 16 years we've been running the studio. We're primarily a 2D and 3D hub for animation, and we're very particular about telling African stories to the world. So I grew up watching cartoons. I still watch cartoons every single day till now, never stopped. And I think for me, getting into animation started, so I'll talk about before the exchange and my journey into animation. I got into animation because it was something I always loved. I've always loved cartoons. I've always loved to watch content on TV. I'm one of those kids that always say, go and read a book because I'm spending too much hours, watching TV and watching cartoons specifically. But I didn't realize that it was a career until I would say I was in SS2. I was watching a film by Pixar, the animation studio, and I stayed till the end and I saw the names. And that was the first time I'd seen Tom and Jerry, I'd seen Looney Tunes, I'd seen all the Disney princesses movies in the past as a child. But it was just that time as a teenager watching that just clicked to me that, wow, people actually made this for a living. And that was where it started from. It started from a dream. It started with a dream. I said, I want to do that. I think that sounds cool. I want to be able to also do cartoons as well. And that's something that started as such a casual conversation from a teenager to see how the journey has grown, 16 years running the business and everything in between. It's truly been a remarkable step. So if there's any chat I'm going to have, because I can see that quite a number of young people currently on the call today, is you have to start with that clear conviction of a dream. Many times you cannot see the entire, you can read my story now backwards and see how everything connects. But at the time, from the SS2 little girl to now, it's such a wide journey and I could not see it today. But all I could do was take a step. And that step started with clarity of purpose. It started with me making that decision, me just saying, I want to create cartoons. And every single thing I needed, I started to attract. Whether it was people I needed, the skills I needed to build, the environment I needed to be in, the opportunities I need to get, every single thing started to align based on the decision I have made. So if there's any chat for us today is make that decision on what you want to do. It doesn't matter. At the time when I made the decision for animation, if I knew what the industry, how challenging animation was, at the time, maybe I would have picked something else. But I feel like there was a divine reason why I picked that. And I have been on that journey ever since. So I wanted to study computer animation in the university as a degree course, but it wasn't studied in Nigeria. And sadly, how many years after, it's still not studied in Nigeria as a course. So I'm self-taught, but I studied something close. I studied computer science. And if you know anything about animation, animation is the combination of technology and art. So it was good that I was able to have that foundation of technology and then from there build. But one thing was clear, it was that love for storytelling. It was that belief in African stories and it's that willingness to learn, even though there wasn't a clear road path. So as I said earlier, many times we don't see the whole staircase, but what we see, what we can do, what the power that we have in our hands is to take that very first step. So what are those very first steps that we want to take currently in some of our career decisions, some of our businesses, in whatever it is that we're currently building? So Mandela Washington Fellowship. So 2015, I was selected as one of the Mandela Washington Fellows. It was an incredible time. And I think for me, the most important thing I took away from that is, yes, the knowledge was great. Yes, the exposure was great. But more importantly, it was the community. It was the community that I was able to build from that. But before I get there, I think around the time when I joined the fellowship, when I was selected for the fellowship, I'd already started the business 5 years. And if you know anything about running a creative business, particularly a creative business in Nigeria, now I mention animation and everybody in the room, more than 80%, understand what I'm doing. But back then, 16 years ago, 10 years ago, it wasn't the case. If I mention animation, what I see is blank faces. I'm trying to convince, I'm trying to explain, what exactly it is you were doing. And that's what happens when you're running a pioneer business. Sometimes you have to do that forerunning work of educating the audience, educating the market on what exactly it is you're building. And at that time, I knew that the knowledge I've gained. So I remember I'd spent years in cyber cafes trying to hone my skills in the university and then starting the company immediately after NYC. At this point, I knew that I'd been running the business for 5 years. What I needed wasn't more creative skill. What I needed was business skills. And at that time, I remember I was going everywhere I needed to be to get that business knowledge. I was at EDC, if you know the Pan Atlantic University Enterprise Development Center. I took a course there on entrepreneurship. I was at Wimbase. I took several courses, mentorship, all that there. Anywhere there was a gathering of young people learning about business, best believe it, I was there because I knew that for me to be able to build the kind of businesses I wanted to build, the big entertainment brands that have lasted the test of time, 100 years, think Disney, think Pixar, those kinds of companies, I needed business structure that was going to get me from where I was to where I needed to be. And the Mandela Washington Fellowship just came at the perfect time because I was on the business track and it helped me to be able to learn those skills, those leadership and entrepreneurship skills that I needed to move my business to the next level. So for me, I think it was that learning from a different environment. So I grew up and I went to Nigerian schools. The first thing you're met with in a US university, I was at Clark Atlanta University, is how different their learning style is. So for me, and for us who schooled here in Nigeria, we're very used to the lecturer doing 80% of the teaching and we just try and reproduce. With the US schools, it's 80% of you, the students, doing the talking, reading course outlines, reading courseworks and the likes, and then speaking. And I think all those conversations, many times I still think back to some of those conversations that we had back then, and it's just hearing everyone's perspective because our class was very diverse. It was young leaders from all across Africa, and they were doing amazing things in creative business, in renewable energy, and in all kinds of different areas. And it's just looking at each and every one of these people and what they're doing and their own perspective, their own point of view. I left the exchange saying, wow, I came in there thinking, okay, I was just going to get some business knowledge and move my business forward. But then I left there with a new perspective. And I think that's what's key. How do we find those new perspectives on the things that we're already doing? So I already had a track on how I felt my business needed to run and what those stages were. But leaving that exchange, I was able to think of even wider and bigger and say, what are the other opportunities for us to actually even tell a truly global story? Beyond just a Nigerian story that sounds nice in Nigeria, how do we ensure that we're able to tell a story that truly resonates globally? And more importantly, is the community, is ensuring that we had that community. I have that community of friends, of brothers, of sisters all across the continent. Any country I want to go into, I have brothers because of the because of the exchange and because of the fellowship. And over the years, it's been amazing to see how everyone has grown. The creative designer, the fashion designer has become an amazing top fashion designer across the continent. She's literally almost every other year, she's in Nigeria at Lagos Fashion Week, and we get to catch up. We have one person who was a banker at the time. Now he runs the SEC in his country. That's the exchange, the security exchange in Nigeria. Can you imagine that in Zambia? Somebody else was a radio host at the time, and now he runs like their NBC in their country in Tanzania. So every single person has been doing excellently well since the fellowship, and we've all stayed in touch. So beyond just exchanging cards, beyond just exchanging numbers, beyond WhatsApp groups, we have actually deliberately focused on the relationship and seen how we can actually help each other grow along the way. And that's one of the beauty, of exchanges like this. So what are the things that I was able to bring home? I think beyond just the knowledge, beyond just the certificate and the people, I think for me, the key word for me is relationship, is community. And I think I've mentioned that many times already in this conversation. That's the key thing. And even here within the American corners and some of the spaces that we're currently in, how are we intentionally building those relationships? It's not just, we hang out, every once in a while, we attend courses together, we attend classes together, we hang out. But how are we intentionally ensuring that we're building those communities together? Many times we're always, it's sometimes a trap whereby we always want to network up. But many times networking across is one of the best things you can ever do, because some of the opportunities I've gotten, the collaborations, the partnerships that I've gotten throughout my career has been because somebody who knew me was in the room mentioned my name. And you need those people to constantly know who you are and what you're doing, and constantly being also involved in their life. So relationship is two ways. It's how are you also pouring into those individuals, and how are they also pouring into you, and ensuring that it's more like I see we're co-building on this journey. Whatever it is that we're building, I'm building in my own space, you are building your own space. How can we also ensure that we're helping each other, collaborate and build together? It's always the most powerful form of leverage and of building things that actually truly last. So I think for me, throughout the entire experience and even post the experience, one of the things that I know that I got was the fact that my world got bigger. I stopped thinking about Nigeria alone. I started thinking, what can I do to make that impact globally? I think before the exchange, it was more like, this is what I'm building. I'm trying to build a studio in Nigeria that works. But no, it was more like, how can we compete globally? How can we ensure that we're putting in the standards? How are we ensuring that we're putting in the structures and the systems to ensure that we can actually scale the studio and produce content that can stand next to any content around the world, whether it's the Disneys of this world or the Pixars of this world? How do we get from this point to that point? And that has been what our journey has been in the last 10 years too. How do we ensure we put in the systems and structures in place to be able to tell stories that are truly scalable? So it's, what are the global standards? What are the audiences? What are the intellectual properties? The partnerships that we need to make that happen, the collaborations. And we've been on that journey. And as this talk continues, I'll be able to share some of those things we've been working on. So I think I came home with that knowledge of, okay, yes, we want to do content, and we want to do content that resonates globally. And from there, we're able to start to think about what are the original IPs that we can actually create. And we did that a few years ago with Hadu, and I'll share a bit about the Hadu journey. From there, we also moved to another IP called Keko Africa. Keko means Learn Africa in Yoruba. Koeko, Learn Africa, and we are literally teaching African history to kids. And the next was training and youth development. That was very key for us. And then also international partnerships and platforms. I think on training and youth development, even while at the exchange program, there was an opportunity to apply for a grant, a USDF grant for some of the Mandela Washington Fellows. And I think about 6 people were selected. I was one of the 6. And that grant was very instrumental to us starting our training arm. We started, as soon as we came back, we started the SMIDS Animation Apprenticeship Program. This was in 2016. And that was the first time we were going into animation training. And some of the people who were trained, it's funny to see how things happen 10 years after, as some of the titans in our animation industry right now who are doing amazing things in the industry. So it was that seed that was planted during the exchange program, and now we can see what it has become even in the animation industry today. So I moved to Hadu. Hadu is an animated short film that we produced a few years back. It's our pride and joy we love so much. It's been to over 50, I've lost count now, 50 festivals, actually, not just animation festival, 50 festivals across the world. It's been to New York, I can't even count. It's been to New York, been to multiple countries in Europe, Portugal, Netherlands. It's been to Brazil. It's currently in Japan in 2 weeks. It's been everywhere. And it's more importantly, more than just being in those festivals, it has won 8 Best Animation Awards, and that is a testament to the story. It's won 8 Best Animation Award, and we're very excited, about the opportunity. Now we are making it into an animated series, and it's been an exciting journey. So watch out, that's an exclusive. Watch out, you'll be seeing Hadu series hitting your screens very soon. But I want to share about something that happened in Rotterdam. So IFF, International Film Festival in Rotterdam, Netherlands. We were there last year in January, and we had a room full. Like, that was the biggest cinema hall I've ever been in. It was an IMAX cinema filled to the brim with kids, Dutch kids who don't speak English as a first language. And they watched the film. And that was the first time I was sitting with an international audience to watch the film together with them. And if you see Hadu, it's a very emotional story. You laugh, you cry, you're happy, you're surprised. It's all the emotions, and it's one of the things that makes it very special. And it was very powerful to see that the children watching this film were able to connect with the emotions in the film at every single point. There was a little Dutch girl beside me who was crying at the point where we wanted the audience to cry. And that was just a testament of the fact that we truly have produced a film that is global, that it doesn't matter that this was a very specific Nigerian film. The lead character's name is Simi, based here in Lagos, Nigeria, and a very Nigerian story. But the way it was produced in a way that any audience around the world, sitting around the world, can see this and understand the content. And that was truly a testament, for us on this. We move on to Keko Africa. So Keko Africa is something we're very passionate about. I love African history. There's a lot of African history that hasn't been taught to kids in the last few years. And even the one I had history in school, even the one that was taught to me, there was a lot I don't know that I was just finding out, in my 30s, things around Timbuktu, Mali Empire, even the Benin Empire right here. I knew of the Benin Empire, but I didn't know how extensive that was. And there's a lot of our stories we need to share. Kids are constantly consuming content every single day, but how can they see our own content as par and worthy of attention? And that's really, what we're trying to build. It's about African history, it's about our culture, it's about our heritage, it's about our geography. How do kids understand where things are across the continent, and how they can also connect to their own history as well, and their own values, more importantly. So we started out on YouTube. It's a series on YouTube, but just recently, about a week ago, it's currently now screening on DSTV and GoTV across the continent, which is exciting. We're really happy about that more kids can get to see this content. But how did this all start? It all started with that seed, ensuring that we're thinking beyond just Nigeria, ensuring that we're saying, how do we build things that are global? How do we build the standards that are global? And that mind exposure, which is very key, which is why I always say, whenever it is that you have an opportunity to do, please ensure that you're in spaces and environment that can expand your mind, because it really does something to your vision. It really does something to whatever it is that you're building, and we're seeing what that impact is. So beyond the films that we produce, beyond the series that we've also produced, we also have quite a number of other outreaches that we do to young kids. So we have our summer camp that is 10 years now, where we train kids in animation. We've been doing that for 10 years. In fact, one of our very first children is actually has now graduated, and he's now in the design space. I think he just recently got a job at an advertising agency. So that's a full circle moment for us, that the children that we started as a seed, usually I always tell the parents that not all of them will end up as animators, but creativity is an important skill, particularly now in this age that we're in this digital age, in this AI age and the likes. What will differentiate us is that creativity and how we see things differently. If everybody has the same answers from wherever, ChatGPT or wherever, what will differentiate you is your creativity, is your own you, bringing your own self into whatever it is that you're doing. And creativity helps you to do that. So you need to think, to bring out from you that innate, characteristic that is uniquely you. And we all have it as individuals. We all have that spark as individuals. And how do we ensure that spark comes through in the work that we do? That's very important. We have Tontopia, which is a children's animation festival that holds at National Theatre. This year, we had 250 kids. It's amazing. We had Stanbic as a lead sponsor. Again, just ensuring that we're bringing out that spark in children. So those sparks was already impacted in many years ago. How do I ensure I'm paying that forward to the children that we are constantly engaging with, and what are the areas we can also engage these children in? We have Smash, where we are also engaging children. So we have multiple touch points for children. And lastly, we have She Animates Africa. I've been in the animation space now almost 16 years. And one of the things for the first 10 years was there are not that many women in animation. There are not that many women in animation. There are not that many. And usually with me, if somebody keeps telling me something over and over again, a problem, I'm not somebody that joins in the problem. I'm like, how do I solve this? That's how my brain thinks. What is the solution? How do I solve it? Is it in my power to solve? Do I need to partner with somebody else to solve it? Do I need to convince somebody else to solve it? But with this, I felt this was something that was within my power to solve. So we started sharing in Africa, where we go to universities, we've been to UNILAG, we've been to OAU, and we actually partnered with the consulate and quite a number of other partners to be able to get this knowledge to them. And we do a one-day workshop with the young girls and say, yes, you're already, so usually we target kids, students in arts and computer science related courses and the likes. And we say beyond just coming out and wanting to be a visual artist, which is great, or wanting to come out and get a regular job, because sometimes we see that many times people who study these creative courses can't find expressions in the workplaces and choose to keep their creativity on the back end while they take on regular jobs. But we say there's also another opportunity for you in animation in case you want to think about it. So we do a one-day practical workshop, like laptops and everything. We install the software for them and we do a full session for them, just so that they can see what it feels like to actually animate something. And then from there, we pair them up with internships, opportunities, and things like that across the industry. So it's been a very exciting program. So this is our summer camp for this year. It's 10 years since we were running the summer camp. This is Tuntopia last year. It was at Alliance Française, but this year was at National Theatre. This is Smash, where we gather people together just to see the beauty of animation and some of the opportunities that animation can bring for young people and adults as well as a mixed crowd. And then this is She Animate Africa. I believe this was at UNILAG a few years back. So yeah, so I've spoken about some of the things that we've been able to do post Mandela Washington Fellowship, but I've been very, very fortunate to have attended not just one, but two alumni exchange programs, or US government exchange programs rather. The first one was Mandela Washington Fellowship, and the second one was the American Film Showcase. And with this, I did that in 2023. So it's quite recently, and it was very different. The first time when I went for the first exchange program, I was this young entrepreneur. I was seeking direction. I was trying to figure out what my path would be. I had a lot of questions as regards, what I'm building, why am I building it, and what would that path be? I was just looking for clarity and direction on what I was building. But the second time around, I was already an established professional, so it was a very different, environment and terrain. And this particular exchange was in partnership with Disney. So it was such a full circle moment, because if you know my story, I think I've mentioned Disney like 10 times in this one presentation. So you definitely know that Disney holds a very special place in my heart. So it was really great to actually be in the studio, to get a tour of the Disney offices. It was amazing to meet with the executives, to just talk to them about some of the things that I'm building and some of the areas and for synergy and collaboration. It was a life-changing trip. And then we now ended up at the Walt Disneyland, which was right at Disneyland in LA, which was an amazing, just standing there in that space and just seeing that this started as one man's vision. And we're right here working in the manifestation of his vision. It was a full circle moment for me personally. And again, for me, when it comes to exchange programs, my key takeaway is always community and the people. It's not about the travel. You can always travel, the opportunities to travel, every time. This year alone, I've gone almost 4 times on different trips for business. But what is most important is the people. That is it. It's really the people. It's the people you meet and what you can possibly build and co-create with them. That's the most important thing. From this particular cohort, one of my sisters from South Africa, we're actually currently working to build something here on the continent that would really be beneficial. We just had a call like 2 days ago. So it's how are you ensuring that whatever spaces you're in, you're looking for people, collaborators, like minds, people that you can actually connect with, synergize with, and ensure that you're able to actually build something that truly lasts. That's where impact is. Impact is in what you're actually building and how it actually impacts the next person beyond just what your own personal goals are. And what has been the ripple effect of the exchange? So it's been the studio, the growth over the years, 20 months strong, the stories we've told, the projects that we're currently working on, the talents that we've helped to develop every single year, whether it's kids, whether it's the internship program we run every single year, whether it's the She Animates platforms that we have, the children, the communities, and definitely the future creators. Again, I believe in paying it forward. Every single child, every single intern that has come through us, you never just know where that seed is going to go. So it's why, for me, I'm very intentional and purposeful that every single person that passes through our system gets the very best of us at each time, and ensure that, that whatever that impact is lasting, in whatever their journeys can possibly be. So for me, what have I learned? I've learned exposure matters. And I know exposure means a lot in our social media era now. It's not that kind of exposure, it's the right kind of exposure I'm talking about. Exposure to systems, exposure to mindset, exposure to perspectives. How are you ensuring that? And you can get this from anywhere. You can get it from books. You can get it from online courses. You can get it from quite a number of resources out there. Exchange program is also great, but you can get it from other resources as well. But it's important that you're consciously exposing yourself to higher thinking, to higher thoughts, to ensuring that you're surrounding yourself with mentors, with advisors, with people that can actually truly help you scale whatever it is that you're currently building to the next level. Two is relationship matters. I think I've talked about communities and relationship multiple times in this particular conversation. Relationship truly matters is how do you build genuine connections with people, not just, oh, I'm networking. We say that a lot when I'm going there, it's a networking event. No, beyond just exchanging cards and something shallow, how do you truly build, genuine relationships with people across the board? So not just, oh, I want to connect with this big person or whoever, but also ensuring that amongst your colleagues, you're also intentional about who you're bringing into your circle and about who you're building those relationships with. Learning, to keep learning. I think that's one thing that has on my entire journey is I'm always open to learn. Right now, I'm currently on like 3 courses right now, online courses here and there that I'm currently taking. On top of all the work that I have to do, I sometimes ask myself how. What is important? And it's not just degree. Degree is good. Many of us have either have or are currently working on our degrees, which is great. But beyond the degrees is how are you ensuring that you remain a lifelong learner? That you're constantly learning through all the resources and all the available opportunities that you have, because that's what you have. That's what differentiates you. That's what differentiates your skill, is the fact that, oh, I'm constantly learning, I'm learning new things. How can I add to whatever it is that I'm building? I'm very passionate about builders. I believe that builders are the future, that this country is a great country, Nigeria needs, and we need more builders. We definitely need more builders. People who are intentional about ensuring that they build something that lasts, something that outlives them, something that has an impact, not just on this generation, but generations to come. And for you to be able to do that, there's a lot of work that needs to go into that. There's a lot of research that needs to go into that. There's a lot of intentionality that needs to go into that. And many times there's a lot of challenges within this ecosystem, particularly when you're building a creative business. How do you ensure you're able to leapfrog some of these things? It's through knowledge. You cannot do it any other way but through knowledge. So seek knowledge. Always seek knowledge. And lastly is ensure that you bring something home. I think beyond just the opportunities you have is how do you ensure that you're able to apply whatever it is that you've received. So whether it's the knowledge, whether it's the exposure, whether it's the relationships that you have, how are you applying it to your immediate environment? Wherever you are, you can start small. You cannot say that, oh, I need to be here before I can start impacting my community or my environment. You can start now, no matter how little you can start. I remember when we started something like Share Animate Africa, I could have said, oh, our company is not where it needs to be before we can start reaching out and doing outreach programs, because it costs a lot of money to put things like that together, to be able to organize, events like that. But it is, if you're thinking about the impact and the end in mind and not the immediate cost, many times you're able to find resources around you to be able to make that happen. So it's within where you are, what are the impacts that you can currently make within your environment? That is key. And lastly is paid forward. I think I hold that very dear to myself, that beyond just acquiring opportunities just for yourself is how do you ensure that you're paying it forward? You're paying the opportunities forward, you're paying the knowledge forward, you're ensuring that this, whatever it is that you're acquiring, you're thinking about people who it will benefit in mind. That you're constantly having that at the end goal, because when it comes to building something big, it's hard to build it myopically. It's hard to build it with just the intention of I just want to, what are the ones that we use commonly? I just want to hold body together and all that. No, because for you to build something that is intentional, that will truly last, is going to be hard. It's going to be really hard. And there's so many things you can do to keep body and soul together that are not difficult. So, but when you're thinking about building something that would last, something that is intentional, something that is a legacy, you have to be able to you have to be able to have that. You have to have something that is beyond just my immediate needs as your goal. Like, I'm not doing this just so that I can have a roof over my head and so that I can eat. No, I'm doing this because I'm seeing the impact it's going to have for generations to come. I'm seeing where the children entertainment media space is going to be. I'm seeing the impact it's going to have on creative kids. I'm seeing the next generation of future creators. And that's important for you, that when you're clarifying whatever it is your vision is, you're also thinking about impact from the beginning. Impact is not an afterthought. Impact is not a let's sprinkle it and let it look nice, SGG. No, it's not that. It is how are you ensuring that from the beginning, from the ideation, from the planning, you're planning the impact and the end outcomes from the beginning. And that shapes the direction and the path that the project and whatever it is that you're currently building will take. Next is, again, I mentioned that before, you don't have to travel to think globally. No, you don't. You have to ensure wherever it is you are learning. And you can start from where you are. So what are the resources that you have available to you? Are they online courses? Are they books? Are they the American spaces I've been to? I'm going for an event after this at an American space in Ikeja here. The opportunities that you have available towards you, resources, books, read wide. I remember when I started my journey in animation back then, we didn't have access to internet like we do right now. I was in cyber cafes. That's where I was. That was how I learned animation, through cyber cafes back in the day. I would go there. I remember at night was best to download tutorials. I would download tutorials. I would give my mom like, "What are you always doing outside at night? Are you trying to become? What are you trying to become? Do you get?" I would leave my drives with the guy there. I said, "Please let me download all these things." The next morning I'll come, I'll pick it up. That was how I learned, and I would practice. Now, no one. When was the last time we saw a cyber cafe? It's been years. We all have devices now that can access whatever it is we want to access at the palm of our hand. I was self-taught on the University of YouTube. So we have that access to as well, with faster and more reliable internet than I did when I started. So how are we ensuring that we are learning, which is the most important thing? How are we getting the skills? Because at the end of the day, the only thing that will distinguish you is the skills that you have. It's not, opportunities will come and go. It's how you utilize those opportunities and make the best out of those opportunities is dependent on the skills that are already depositing to you by the time the opportunity meets you. That's the preparation. Remember when we talk about success, that success is when opportunities meet preparation. The preparation is all this, is the skills, is the learning, is the resources that you have access to. That by the time those opportunities come and meet you where you are, you're able to succeed and you're able to make those opportunities catalyst for the next level, for your next phase, for whatever it is that you're going, whatever trajectory your career or your business is currently on. Second is connect. I've talked about that. Communities that you already have access to currently. On LinkedIn, the world is now a global village. The amount of people I have connected to me on LinkedIn is amazing. And using those connections wisely, please, responsible messaging, LinkedIn, events, exchange programs, whatever access you have to be able to connect with people, please connect. You never know who can help, who can be that person that can help collaborate, help partner, or help link you up to whatever potential partners, opportunities that your vision, your business, your career needs for the next level. So it's important that you always take every opportunity you have to connect effectively. Create, very importantly, whatever it is that you're building, no matter how grand the idea is, you can always find a way to start small. You can always find what the MVP is. I knew I wanted to create all these big IP franchises, what are the common ones today? If you have young kids, you have Bluey, you have all this. I want to build all those. But I know that I had to start small. And in many ways, we have started in different ways. At one point, we're a studio that was for hire. So we did a lot of commercials and advertising. Then we moved into IP. We started with short films. And then from short films, we're now doing series on YouTube. Now we're about to do a series on TV. Although one of our YouTube IPs already on DSTV now, which is great. But we're now doing a made-for-TV series as well too. So it starts small. Imagine if I said, "Oh, it must be a Netflix or nothing. Netflix did or nothing." I wouldn't be where I am today. You have to start small and then continue to see those building blocks grow until you get to where you need to get to. Second is share. I think in the world that we are, visibility is key. It's important that responsibly you're able to share the work that you do and attract the kinds of people that would be collaborators or potential fans of the work that you currently do. So please share your work. Please share. You cannot build in isolation. You cannot build and say, "Well, I'm hiding my yam so nobody sees it." No, you have to ensure that you are deliberately and intentionally sharing whatever it is that you're doing on social media platforms, everywhere you are, whatever opportunity you have, you share, and they build the reputation for the work that you do so that people know when they think kids animation in Nigeria, they know who they think about. So it's important that whatever it is that you are building, that you're top of mind, you're top 10 when it comes to whatever it is you're building in the industry that you're building, whether it's a career, whether it's a business, whether it's an NGO, whatever it is, you're ensuring that you're top of mind when it comes to renewable energy. I know you. In this, I know you. Based on how you're going to create how people see and there's so many resources online how to do that effectively. And lastly is to collaborate, is to find people within your immediate environment and also beyond your environment, also beyond your immediate environment that you can collaborate with on the journey that you're currently on. So next, I want us to do a slight exercise. We might not do it now. It might be something that we might take in, but it's to think about what we have received, what we are building, and how we can give back. So it's your turn. I did the exercise already before this. That was the one you just saw. So it's what are the opportunities that you currently have right now? So just think about those opportunities. So this is your turn to be able to think about that. Because many times when it comes to our vision, I find that we clarifying our vision is one of the most important things. It's important for direction. It's important for you to be able to have guidance. It's important for you to be able to find the dots that truly connect you to the next level. Many times we have a lot in our heads as to what we are building and how we are building it. But if you do not articulate it down, like paper to pen, and say, this is what I'm building and this is how I'm building it, many times you can't find. In the articulation, you'll find clarity. In the articulation, you'll find clarity. So what are the things that you're currently learning? What are the things you're currently learning in the spaces that you're currently in? Who are the people you're meeting? Who are they? What are the kinds of people that you're meeting? And what do you want to build particularly? What problem are you solving? It always starts with that. It's not just I want to start a X and XY company, or I want to build a career in X and X. The issue is, what is the problem? What are the gaps that you're currently seeing? And how do you feel like you're uniquely capable to be able to fill in those gaps? And who are those that benefit from this opportunity? So when you're thinking about impact, it's very specific to who actually benefits from this. With me and my journey, I know my direct beneficiaries are young children, and how I'm able to impact the next generation with the kind of content and stories that we tell, how we're able to tell our own history, our own culture in fun, engaging ways to the next generation. And beyond just the films that they get to watch, we also have other engagements around the year to ensure that we're engaging particularly creative kids. We're very particular about our creative kids. So whether it's a summer camp, whether it's an animation festival for children, which is the first of its kind, today is the first of its kind animation festival in Nigeria. Whatever it is, we're ensuring that kids are at the center of whatever it is that we're building, and impact, more importantly, at the center of whatever it is that we're building. So you have to also be as clear as to what you're also building and what impact you have. And you have to start that from the beginning. It's not an afterthought. It's from the beginning you have to start that. So I will be ending shortly now so that we can have time for questions if there are any questions. So the exchange doesn't end when you get home. The real exchange actually begins when you take whatever it is that you've learned and you turn it into things that can actually change your life and eventually change somebody else's life. That's key for me. That's how I see all of the exchanges I've been on, the two of them I've been on so far, is not beyond just the opportunity, is what are the impacts I've been able to have after these exchanges, and how has the life of somebody else been better for it, more importantly. So thank you so much for listening. You can reach out to me on the content on the screen. And yes, if you can take questions, if they are.
Thank you so much, Ms. Damilola. Thank you so very much. Please, let's give her a virtual and a physical round of applause. Please, thank you so much. It was a beautiful and an exciting presentation that you just made, and your slides were beautifully crafted, brilliantly crafted, and I really appreciate how you were able to, take us through your journey in such a clear and thoughtful bite sizes. We would be moving to the question and answer session now, which is another interactive session. I know people have many questions. I've got questions for you, but I would just wait till shade for people to put out their questions, so it won't be like I'm the only one. We have so many across American spaces. So yeah, again, what particularly stood out to me is the tenacity that runs through your story, the relentless curiosity to learn. You're a dogged fighter for knowledge, and I love that, which I am too. And when I see people like that, I feel like, wow, you know exactly, you know your niche, you know what you're doing, you know your onions. So yes, so I'll be putting out the question, looking at the question from the chat box, and see if you have any question. I have my own question here, but I'm going to start with the American Spaces Nigeria. There is a question, Ms. Damilola. It goes thus: how long will it take you to get the necessary skill to produce animations for kids? That's the first question. Do you want me to read the second one? Should we take it in bites?
Okay, we can take it in bites. I think we have time.
Okay, very well. Please, you can. Alrighty. So you go ahead and answer the first question, then I will throw the second after you.
Okay. Okay, so thank you so much for this question. I will assume that this person asking is interested in becoming an animator in some shape or form. Because for you to produce animation for kids, there are so many ways you can do it. One of them is by being a producer. So we have lots of producers that we partner with and work with. So they hire us as a studio to produce content for them. That's one of the easiest ways to do it. But you have to have funds to be able to do that. But if you yourself want to produce animation for kids yourself, animation is a team sport. So it's important that you have a team of people together building this. But you are yourself as an individual, as an animator, you can start. You can start with the knowledge. I started learning roughly when I was in my 200 level. By the time I was in my NYSC, I was already executing projects. Again, it might take you a little shorter time because, again, I had school that was my priority. Typically, we have courses for people. We used to have courses for people that was about 4 weeks for them to learn the basics of animation. And then from there, they start to build. Animation is a skill, so you keep getting better, just like art. I always tell people art is a skill anybody can learn how to draw. Yes, some people are more talented than others, but it's a skill. But whenever you start, you keep building on it. Every single year, even as an artist, I paint, I draw. Every single year, I see myself getting better. So you keep getting better. If I'm going to advise a young animator right now today where to start from, I would say, firstly, go online, get the softwares, figure out, familiarize yourself with some of the softwares that are available online. You want to be a 2D animator, a 3D animator, get those skills and start to learn from tutorials online. Again, depending on what your current positioning is, I'd love to ask you a lot of follow-up questions. Are you a student? Are you an intern? What are you? Is it possible for you to be able to go and intern at a studio and learn how to actually animate? Because again, animation is a very complex what do you call it, experience. So learning through a studio also helps you. In 6 months with a good studio, you'll be good to go. Then now, if you want to now produce content for kids, the question now is what kind of content you want to produce and what platform. So if you're doing something for YouTube, that's something you can do on your own as a freelancer. There are quite a number of YouTube platforms that started years ago that is just 1 or 2 people working on those projects and they're able to execute. If you're trying to do something for TV or for streamers, Netflix and the likes, then you need a team behind you. But I think the first step is you want to get the skills, please get the skills that are required. And then the next question now will be, where do I want to go? Again, if you're going for some online platforms, there are also tools out there like AI, which, I can't believe I'm the one bringing up AI into this conversation because that's a whole 1 hour conversation. But then there are also tools in AI. But when I would just have, since I mentioned AI, I have to do this caveat. For AI, because you can right now prompt to video and animation in 2 seconds. Right now, you can do that. But like someone like me, I always give this analogy. I don't have music theory. I don't have music skill. In fact, I believe I'm even tone deaf. People in the studio argue that I'm tone deaf. So because I did tools that can help me produce music right now, and I can be streaming on Spotify or whatever platforms. Yes. But can AI make me Don Jazzy? That's a question you have to ask yourself. No, it can't because I do not have the skills. I will still have to develop the music theory and understand what notes are. I will still also have to understand, how to produce music that truly sells in a market like Nigeria or a market globally, whatever it is I'm marketing my beats to. So all those things, AI can do for you. So at the end of the day, what tends to happen is you're just producing slop because you do not know the fundamentals of the skill. So again, I'm pro skill because I'm a builder and I believe in builders and I believe that Nigeria needs builders. It's always important that whatever it is you're asking AI to do for you, ensure that you have the fundamental skills to be able to do it. You want AI to be able to help you design, you need to know design theory. You want an AI to help you produce animation, you need to understand how to animate. Without that understanding, you can't know what is wrong. Like I believe that if whatever AI music tool in my hand and whatever AI music tool in Don Jazzy's hand, the output will be different because he has years of experience in that skill that no one can take it from him. So please always build that skill, invest in building that skill.
Very well, thank you, Ms. Damilola. There is a follow-up question here. Do we have such training opportunities physically in Nigeria? Do we have, outfits like that?
Yes, definitely. For you to learn animation, definitely there are opportunities to do that. We used to have a training outfit that was physical. We have had to stop that because we are focused on production. But there are some studios out there, I think Orange VFX and the likes, who have actual animation courses that you can take. You can also learn online as well. What we do is an internship program. So every year we take in 6 interns every year and we train them through animation at the beginning of the year. And by this time, July, October, they are fully integrated into our teams, and some of them move on to other projects as well.
Well, does that come at a cost, or you're just giving back to the
The
community?
internship program that we have doesn't come at a cost, but the training programs by some of the other companies I just mentioned comes at a cost, yes. And even when we had a training platform as well, it also came at a cost. We're currently moving that online, but the platform isn't ready yet, so that will also come at a cost as well.
Okay, let's shift the gear a little bit to the virtual people. People have been sending chats online, but let's look at them. Let's listen to what people have to say. Yeah, Enugu Window on America raise their hand. Could you please unmute yourself and speak if you like to? Enugu Window on America, are you there? Well, while we're waiting for Enugu, I believe, I don't know if you can hear me well. We have Jutse Window on America. Could you please unmute yourself and speak if you must?
All right. Hello. Are we audible?
Yes, please.
Thank you very much. That was a wonderful presentation. I really learned a lot. I'm an exchange alumnus as well. I went under the program. Yes. So my question is, okay, we are back now, and then we are trying to put everything together, right? So we are at that early stage where we have, for me, saying it personally, we have a lot of things going. So what advice do you have for us that will help us navigate this early stage of, okay, you are doing community activities, you are doing community engagement, as well as trying to build a career, because they have to go hand in hand. And then sometimes the community activity and then building career can be a little bit overwhelming. So how did you navigate those hurdles, and then what advice do you have for us in this situation? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your question. I think that's a very important question. Thank you. And congratulations, welcome back. And I believe that you're going to do amazing, amazing things within your community. I think the first thing would be balance. I think balance is key. Yes, particularly when you are from, an environment like this, there's a lot of, challenges, everywhere you turn. So I can imagine the pressure that you're facing. You cannot solve, all the problems. There are problems that are very specific to the skills and the talent that you have and the experiences that you've also been able to bring back from this exchange program. So how do you funnel those experiences into impacts that actually last? So for me specifically, a lot of my engagement is around what I already do, which is animation. So in a way, it's all tied in. So whether it's the sheer animes that we're doing with the girls in school, whether it's Tutopia with children, whether it's summer camp and other engagements that we have, it's all around the vision of what we're doing. Yes, do I do some other things outside, maybe with my alumni community members and things like that? Yes, but that balance has to be key. So there's a reason why you were selected for this exchange, and that has to be the priority. So if the priority is that career that you're currently building, please ensure that you're putting in all the best into that, because that is when that grows, you can even do much more. So ensuring that you're doing that to ensure that your career, your business is growing as it should, and you're opening yourself up to the opportunities that can help you actually grow in that particular space and field. And then with the engagement and the community is always figuring out, what can I do within my capacity right now? So it grows in stages. So right now, if I can only commit 4 hours a week, I don't know, it just really depends on your schedule. If I can only commit, 10 hours a month, if I can only commit this amount of resources to it, ensure that consistency is there, ensure that you're putting in some kind of guidelines as to how you want to engage, so that you hold yourself accountable, and at the same time you can also, because if you do not measure your goals, you really can't track. So if you're saying I want to do XYZ within the space of 2 years, within the space of 3 years, what are the things that are going to help me get to XYZ? How many things am I going to be able to be doing every single month, every single quarter, every single half year, every single year? And then begin to hold yourself accountable to those goals that you set. But both of them have to be going hand in hand. Your career is growing as it should, and then also your community engagement is going. You might not be able to do all that you expect to do. Now, I can share my story now, but this is 10 years. So it looks, glamorous and like a lot, but it's 10 years. If you had asked me this question, if I did this panel a year after, I might not have been able to say anything. Do you get? So it's every single year ensuring that you're building up to it. And you blink your eyes, it's 10 years from now. And the question is, where do you want to be in that 10 years? You need to articulate what that is and then work your way back from there.
Thank you so much, Ms. Damilola. I just want to plug, could you please remove the slide so that people can see a bigger
Oh,
picture.
sorry.
Very well, thank you. We've got a question here. As you're removing the slides, we'll get to Enugu. Enugu raised their hand earlier. Would you like to speak now? Or do we go to another? Okay, very well. Enugu, please. Unmute yourself and speak. All righty, good morning.
Good afternoon, ma.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Please
My
continue.
question is,
We can hear you. We can
as someone that is like interested in animation, there are a lot of things that actually limit someone. Like, for example, there might be maybe online spaces where you can watch videos online, but you find out that the most important thing is somehow like a physical meeting, because you might just be watching videos and you might not even have any direction. So my question is there any way that this can be like, is there anything you can do if you're in this kind of situation where you don't really have, let me say, a kind of physical way to learn this thing and you know that you're actually learning it properly? And you mentioned internship. I want to know, is it physical? Because if it's physical, then it might be hard for some people that are living far away, or is it a kind of online something that other people can access?
Thanks so much for the question. Yes, learning animation or any technical skill online is very hard and requires a lot of commitment. So I know I said it so casually, but it does require a lot of commitment. And if you think about it, almost 20 plus years ago when I was learning animation, we didn't even have this much resources. I mentioned very casually in my speech that I was going to cyber cafes and I could not even stream the videos because that's a lot of data that did not even exist. I had to download those videos and then we watch them on my own devices that I had access to. So it was a lot. So first of all, it's going to be that commitment to learn, because animation is a discipline and requires a lot to get into. And many times it's not the easiest of things to do in isolation. I can understand that, which is why building communities, even around where you are, in Enugu, is important. I will have to do a quick research to see if there are any studios or any creative people that I know that are currently within that space that you can also lean on. And you can also do that research as well too. I believe there was some training that came to Enugu. I'm not too sure when, but I have to do that research and circle back to you. Our own particular internship program is physical. It's currently not remote currently, but definitely I think for someone like you who has that passion and wants to learn, I can only encourage you to keep pushing. If you do have a dream to want to be in animation, I would say keep pushing. Try and find what the opportunities are available around you. You might not immediately jump into animation. It might be art, because I remember I told you that animation is a combination of technology and art. So what are you doing with just paper and pencil right now? How are you building your skills, creatively as an artist? Is there somebody around you who can draw? Are you an art student? There's a lot of things I don't, know about you personally. So that I will have been able to give you a specific advice. So how can you continue to, because from wherever you are, you can start. So from wherever you are, you can start, and then from there, you can now start to build on it. So how can you develop yourself from where you are, whether it's learning how to draw, whether it's improving your drawing skills, if you already have those drawing skills, are there books, are there materials, are there resources that you can get? And sometimes they're not video, they can be books. Tons of ebooks right now are online that are now above the domain. I think they're over 100 years, so they're now free for public domain. I believe you're in an American corner spaces. There are also resources available to you there as well too. And then more importantly, for the industry stuff, you might have to just reach out to me on, the best way would be Instagram and DM, and then I can just send you resources. I can find out who are those people in Enugu and the areas that you are in, that I can say, okay, this is somebody that can either mentor you, or does he have a studio that you can intern at, and just depending on your location and how close that is to you.
All righty, thank you. I believe our question was well answered. There is a question here now. I'll shift into the people in the chat box. There's a question from Ubuntu of Window in America. I know here I can do quite a lot of things in this current age. Say I'm going professional, like making videos or movies. Do I need to have a professional certification on cinematography in order to be able to put together not just content, but something that can stand in global space and make meaning?
Okay, fantastic question to the person from Ogun Tech Hub. So what I would say is, do you necessarily need a certificate? Certificate is not the goal, it's the knowledge. So I would say if you do want to make movies, and yes, in the next few years, there will be more and more integration of AI with what already exists with movies in the film and in the film industry and co. But more importantly is how do you see like a cinematographer? Because there's an eye of a cinematographer, which is why if you're a film buff, you're somebody who is a student of film, you see how we make arguments as to this. I don't want to start mentioning directors' names as to how they do this, how they do that, their own style, their voice, how they interpret, screen to cinema, how they interpret cinema and the likes. So more importantly is how do you develop your own unique voice as a filmmaker? And the first thing will be for you to get the basic skills as a cinematographer. There are tons of courses. You say you're in Ogun State. I know that there used to be Del York, and which is in Lagos, which I feel like you can access. I think there's some other courses online. There's a ton of YouTube videos. If you type cinematographer on YouTube, you cannot even exhaust the videos because there'll be a ton of resources that will hit you on just that alone. So I'll say getting a certificate, a professional certificate is great. It's an added benefit. If you have access to that, why not? Please do get that. But more importantly is the knowledge on how to truly be an exceptional cinematographer. And there's high demand for truly good cinematographers, particularly here in Nigeria, because if you know, majority of the top high-end Nollywood movies that end up in Netflix and cinemas, majority of the cinematographers are actually imported from SA and other countries. So you might be the next, go-to guy when it comes to, big movies, but you have to put in the work and put in the skills, to make yourself exceptional in that.
All righty, thank you so much, Damilola. We don't have much time, so we have to run through the remaining questions so that they won't feel that we've rescinded your questions. So we are going to just go through maybe two of these and shift the gear a little bit like the other time. So from Benin Window in America, what visual cues or editing choices do you rely on most to make non-verbal character emotions clear to young viewers? Did you get that bit?
Yes, I did. That's a lovely technical question. Love that. Yeah. Okay, so wow, I wish I was able to screen Hadu. Maybe I should spend my first 7 minutes screening Hadu. Hadu is a short film. It's still not yet out on YouTube yet because it's still going through festivals. But yes, we make tons of editing choices. But again, if you're a student of film, you know that a movie is made 3 times. So it's made in pre-production, it's made in production, and then it's made in post. So those decisions are not made just solely in post. We've made it from the beginning. So for animation specifically, we have something you call a color script. It's something that I love so much. I learned from Pixar. Pixar does something called a color script. So we have a storyboard, but Pixar goes a step further and does what you call a color script, whereby you're actually seeing each frame and how you want light to interpret emotion throughout the entire scene. So from our color script from Hadu, we had already decided how it was going to go emotionally. And for me as a filmmaker, I lean very strongly in emotional films because, again, you see me, I mention Pixar a lot. If you watch any Pixar movie, you know that it's a very strong emotional film. All their films are always very strong when it comes to emotions and a bit of comedy, but more emotions. So from the very beginning, we already decided that we knew all the places that we wanted people to emote and how we're going to use light, color to make that happen. So that was already decided in pre-production. Then even in production as well, we ensured that was implemented. And then in post, again, we also implemented that. So yes, I want to go deeper, but we don't have time. But that's a good question.
Thank you so very much. It was well said. So from Maiduguri, looking back at your present experience, how has your exchange experience shaped your personal and professional journey? How have you impacted into your community? And what advice would you give to the current exchange participants who want to turn the experience into a lasting impact?
Okay. Lot, but I'll try and answer as many of it as possible. I think for the experience with the exchange, I think there was a lot personally that I was able to get from the journey. I think for me, it was that clarity of vision and just direction that, beyond just what I'm building locally here in Nigeria, I needed that perspective change. Something I said during the presentation was I needed to expand my mind and think, how can I build a global business and what are the things that we can do? And this didn't just come out of the blue. I was in the business, the arm of the Mandela Washington Fellowship, and we did go visit some businesses. We visited UPS, who has been around for over 100 years. We visited Coca-Cola, I believe, and then we also visited Halifax Airport, the CEO, his speech alone, I still remember his speech. He has an amazing mind, for business, and his leadership style is also very incredible. So it was listening to all these people that helped expand my mind and say, how do we build beyond just where we are? How do we ensure that we build businesses that actually last? So perspective change was very key for us. When I came back and went thinking about community impact, I think for me, I was thinking more first about my business, which is why I went. How do I expand my business, and how do I ensure thinking about impact as the core of the business? And then from there, it was easy for them to become, so the tree itself, the root itself is the business. And then all our other expressions, are areas in which you can reach the community and impact people. So I think it's thinking first about, what you're actually building, your career, your business, and then how you can actually ensure you pay it forward to the community and figure out what those roots will be and what those branches will be for you specifically. But I'm sure that, you've gone through, or you are going through this exchange program, and you are thinking about that, at the core of your mind as to how you want to impact your community. And those steps will become clearer. You cannot have the full picture right now. You can only have, an idea and an inkling of what you want to do. And the steps will get clearer as you take that first step. Each and every of the other steps will become much and more clear for you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Damilola. We have a question. Somebody, the Ikeja, could you unmute yourself and speak? I think I saw them earlier, so I believe. Ikeja, are you there?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to corroborate what one of the good morning, and that was a very fantastic session. Thank you so much for the shared experience. I was just going to corroborate what this lady was talking about from, I think, I don't know if that is Joss. So I know learning animation or this kind of a skill requires resources, and one of them are technology required. For instance, a laptop, which has to be a heavy graphic laptop, regardless of, even if you have you watch videos and tutorials, you must be able to practice. And being able to do animation requires heavy graphic laptop. So my question now is, how accessible are these resources to, for instance, people from, so to say, underserved communities, or people who do not have access to such resources? Are there opportunities for them, or support where they can at least get a leverage? If they made effort to show intentional, they are very intentional about it, but are there resources or support for them to get this done? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that question. So yeah, thank you so much for that question. Ikeja, I'm actually supposed to be at a meeting in Ikeja at 12 o'clock. I'll be speaking at 12 at an event at Ikeja American Corner today. Yes, so definitely animation, particularly 3D animation, requires heavy graphics, definitely. I remember my own first graphic laptop, how I got it. It was through my Alawi. I worked in a place that was paying me, decent enough to cover my transportation. And I saved all my NYC Alawi. And it was not a lot because it was in 2010. Now, NYC people are balling now. But back then, it was not a lot, but I saved every single thing. I didn't spend it. And at the end of my NYC, I used to buy my first system. So if there's a will, there's always a way for you to make that happen. But yes, there are opportunities. I believe that there were 2 programs, one last year and one 2 years ago, whereby those programs were in partnership with DFIs, and then they were providing laptops and training in animation. But those opportunities don't come around often. But if someone has an opportunity like that, that would be great. But what I would say is wherever they are, you can always start. Why I say this is, if 3D and the kinds of softwares that are required, for you to be able to run on are too heavy and are not things that you can access now with the systems that you have, I would say start somewhere else. Animation is very broad, so you can start as a 2D animator. So rather than going all the way to 3D because you do not have the laptop and the graphic capabilities for you, can you start with 2D? Can you even start with paper? Can you start with stop motion? Can you start with flip animation? The thing is about the skill. If you build the skill of animation, it can transfer across multiple softwares. I started as a 3D animator, so that's how I started. And I was using, because I was a computer science student, we had a computer science lab that I installed illegally, technically, installed 3D softwares on our computer lab, and I was always practicing. My teachers were like, this guy is learning coding. They did not know that it was something else I was doing, on those systems. So that was the access I had at the time. But wherever it is that you are, you have access. So now the studio, why I said that story now is that now the studio is 2D. Majority of the work we do right now is 2D. So animation, the skill of animation, you can take it across multiple. So whether it's 3D, whether it's 2D, whether it's stop motion, you can take the skill of animating anywhere. So I would say for that person from a low income background who might possibly not be able to afford high-end laptops, particularly with what the rates are saying right now, I would say start where you are. Even if it's just drawing, learning the skill of drawing. And then from there, you're moving into flip animation. From there, you're moving into storyboard. You're moving into stop motion animation rather. And then from there, you're moving into 2D. With some of the 2D applications and softwares, things like Blender, you can easily run them on laptops that are not heavy graphics.
All right, thank you so very much. We have overshot our time actually. Is there a possibility you can respond to this in 1 or 2 minutes? I'm going to be reading it out and we just so that we can round off and go for the next order of the day. For those of us who did not have the opportunity to attend the exchange program and the Washington Fellowship as a result are not part of the alumni network, how can we become active and connected within the American spaces? Sometimes I feel like I'm just floating without knowing how to get involved or get where to belong. I would really appreciate your guidance on this.
How to contribute, participate. Okay. So I think within the American corner space, because I do have a few people that have been connected with over the last few years that are not necessarily alumni members, but they are part of the community, the global American community in Nigeria. So what I would say is, how many events are you attending? Like, this is one of the events, and how are you actively engaging with people that you meet at this event? So make yourself available for as many opportunities as you have. I don't know where you are currently at. It looks like you're in Kano. So I would say, what are the events that are happening within Kano State at those American spaces? Many of the alumni events are also open to you as well. Attend as many of those events, network with whether people within the alumni or people outside the alumni as well too, and just utilize all the resources that you have currently within the spaces that you are in. And then hopefully you apply for an exchange program, because there are numerous exchange programs within the US ecosystem that you can apply for.
Thank you, Ms. Damilola, again. Might I add that if you are from Kano, I believe you should visit the space physically. There's so many opportunities right there and there. So please, if you have the chance, please go to the American space Kano. And Ms. Damilola, I want to say a very big thank you for sharing your inspiring journey and your valuable insights with us today. Today, conversation reminds us of the opportunities can actually open doors. And it is vision, courage, creativity, intentionality, action that turn opportunities to impact. So on behalf of the US Mission in Nigeria and all the American Spaces Network, I want to say a very big thank you. We don't take this for granted. This is a very good opportunity for people to, expound on what they really truly want. And thank you for pushing this and prompting us to do much more. Thank you so much. We hope to have you again. To have a lovely day, and I wish you the very best. And to the individuals that are joining on today and American Spaces, thank you so much. To the American Spaces, we don't take this for granted. We hope to have you again next week. To have a lovely day. Bye-bye, ma'am. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you so much.